when there is a strange word being used in the Gospels and we can't find it anywhere else, either it's a made-up name to suit a new circumstance, e.g. Kiriaki Mera, doesn't exist anywhere else. It only occurs in the book of Revelation, chapter 1, I think verse 8. And I was caught up in the Spirit and on the Lord's day. Kiriaki Mera, Protifora, doesn't exist anywhere in the Greek language. But that was a deliberate invention or creation by John in order to suit the circumstance. He didn't have any other word to use, you know. How come I was caught up on the first day of the week? That was the only other word he had in his vocabulary. On the first day of the week, Sunday, okay? He decided, no, that doesn't capture it. That doesn't bring into light what happened on that day when I was caught up into the heavens. It was the Lord's day, the day that the Lord resurrected. So he said, I'll call it the Lord's day, Kiriaki Mera. So that was one example. But there are other examples of one word being used only in the Gospels and nowhere else, or St. Paul, where we think it's a singular word, like Kiriaki Mera, made up by the Christians, but it's not. Epiouson is an example of that. How do we know? After the Second World War or so, there was a great discovery of papyri manuscripts. Now, papyri usually will disintegrate with time. It's not good paper. It comes from the papyrus plant, you know, on the Nile. Okay, they beat it into strips, one strip there, strips like that, and then they bang it. There's your page, there's your paper, okay, papyrus. Now, let me explain it another way. So, because papyrus disintegrates, the only reason why ancient papyri did not disintegrate in this particular case is because Egypt is hot, the desert is hot and not humid. So therefore any papyri underground, under ruins and remains of ancient cities, chances are that if it is in the Egyptian desert, it will not disintegrate because the warmth and the lack of humidity will preserve that paper. But if it was in Greece, the paper would be gone. If it was in Israel, most likely the papyrus would disintegrate and we wouldn't have any record of the ancient times. Now, in this particular place where there's a whole cache of manuscripts, ancient manuscripts, thousands and thousands of papyri of different sorts. Some are just invoices, some are just letters sent by a soldier who is on duty in Egypt, but his parents are in Corinth. So, oh my dear mother, I am here in Alexandria, or I'm in some Hierapolis or something, and I miss you. It's just interesting insight into the world of the first century, because these things come from the first century, and we do see how Paul writes his letter. Greetings to you, most honourable mother. I kiss you on the right cheek, O Holy Father. I mean, very similar to the language of Paul. So it isn't as if Paul is writing in a vacuum. That the way he structures his letters, it's as if he's just creating all this new. He's not. He's following the conventions of epistle writing of that period. So Epiousion was found among those letters and among those papyri. And guess what? Where it appears in what kind of letter? You won't believe it. Are you ready? A shopping list. A shopping list. It was a list of someone giving his son or daughter a list of things to buy. Among is the Epiousion Arton, our daily bread, the bread of today.
Daily bread.
Yeah. So we have tried many times to make it the eschatological bread. We've tried to make it's the bread of tomorrow, or today's bread for tomorrow. It's probably legitimate to do that. It's legitimate, right? I'm not saying it's not. But if we're going to look at it from a purely scientific point of view, it just means, Lord, give me today, don't let me go hungry today. Give me bread to eat. Bread being lechem, just being a generic term for food. Yeah. But again, I don't want to take away that possibility that it is the eschatological meal, e.g. Holy Communion. But we don't need that for Holy Communion. We don't need to force into the Lord's Prayer that interpretation. Why? Because we've got very blatant ones, like in John 6, which I think is my favorite, Louis, if you want to defend the Orthodox and Catholic position on that it is the meal, it is the actual, it's the blood, it's actual blood, it's not symbolic, as our Protestant friends would say. Chapter 6 says, unless ye drink of my blood and eat of my flesh, thou shalt not have life. And then it says, and some of his followers questioned it, and some left him because it was a hard saying. Well, why would they leave him if he was just saying, well, look, this is the blood, this is the wine which represents my blood, and this is the bread that represents my body. That's not a hard saying. Nobody would leave him for that if it was symbolic. But if he said, every time you meet and you do this in remembrance of me, you're actually drinking my blood, my real blood, and my real body. That's why they left him. It was cannibalism. They thought it was cannibalism. And not only that, to support that view, if we look into the history of the early church, Roman scholars, the Latins, not the Christians, are writing this, but Suetonius and some other Roman historians are writing about the Christians, right? It's always good in history to get the opposite side so that you can know what they were thinking of you, you know. What your enemy thinks of you can be valid as well as what you think of yourself. You understand, right? So they used to go down to the catacombs in Rome. They would pretend to be Christian, but they were really Roman spies, police spies, just undercover cops of the day, of that day, right? And so they would have to give reports of what these Christiani are doing. And one report is amazing. It says, and these Christians appear to be worshipping someone called Christus, Christus in Latin. They appear to be homosexuals. Why would you get that? And they perform a ritual of cannibalism. Now, the gay thing is because they would kiss each other, the kiss of peace. You know how the priests do now? That's the last remnant of that. That should be the whole congregation doing that. What I do in Sierra Leone is I get them to shake hands and just to hug each other. You know, a male, not with females because it could be misconstrued. But shake or hug, that's it, you know. But here we don't do that. Here the only one who does it are the two priests. Tomorrow I will do that with Father Romanos. But you were supposed to do it too. Are we together? Mm. Yeah.